Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series, The Life Divine, with our beloved Ranga. We are on page 689, and beginning with the sentence, the manifestation of the being in our universe.
So, in this paragraph, whose title is The Aim of Life, the Four Theories of Existence, actually Swamdeva is now laying down his theory, of what he has based on experience of the spirit and matter, both, the whole range of existence. So, I read the summary of the previous para so that we get the continuity. This divine being is Sat Chit Ananda. It is simultaneously impersonal and personal. Impersonally, it is the source and foundational base of all truths, forms, powers, substances. But equally, it is a conscious person, though universal, of all individuals, animate and inanimate. He, as person, is the master, lord, and ruler of the universe, like a king. All forms, powers, objects are only representations, symbols of this Satchidananda. He is also the indwelling presence in all things, the many in the world. Thus, it is necessary for the individual soul in the many to know him and become one with him in every way, in consciousness, in power, in bliss, and in substance. But by surrender and self-giving, the soul must possess and be possessed by him in the becoming, in the physical world, not in the higher hemisphere. That many yogis have done already. But he wants the realization of the divine here in the physical world, in the becoming. The theories which affirm the reality of God and the individual soul do express a truth. Dualism and theistic views are all valid, but they do not express the complete truth if they do not confirm the essential oneness of the two. Which are the two? The reality of God and the individual soul. They are essentially one. Being and becoming are essentially one. The soul can merge fully into God with consciousness, with love, with substance in the physical world. That's what he has said in the previous para. Now we read the para we have to read today. The manifestation of the being in our universe takes the shape of an involution, which is the starting point of an evolution. Matter, the nethermost stage, spirit, the summit. So now, we'll have a look at this sentence. The manifestation of the many. Which is the manifestation? The world is the manifested form of the being. Which is the being? Spirit. So spirit is manifesting itself in forms in the physical world. And it takes the shape of an involution. And what is an involution? The tree is contained in the seed, that's an involution. The universe, the inconscient, contains all the higher planes of consciousness in it. So that's an involution. Potentially, the highest is there in the lowest. That's what is meant. Matter, the nethermost stage. Matter is the lowest stage. Spirit, the summit. Spirit and matter. In the descent into involution, there can be distinguished 7 principles of manifested being, 7 gradations of the manifesting consciousness, of which we can get a perception or a concrete realization of their presence and immanence here, or a reflected experience. So what's he saying? He's saying that if you see from the highest to the lowest, from spirit to matter, you can see gradations. You can divide as you want, but we have decided that we will follow the, Sri Aurobindo says, the Vedic principle. So the 7 planes of consciousness, which in the Vedas are also referred to as the rivers, okay, they are also the planes of, they are also the worlds. So Sat, Chit, Ananda, the connecting link between the two is the supermind, and then below the manifestation is mind, life and matter. So mind, life and matter is a lower hemisphere. Supermind is a connecting link between the two, which makes possible the manifestation. And the higher hemisphere is Sat Chit Ananda. So this is the plan that Sri Aurobindo is going to follow. Okay, so. And then he is saying that we, human beings, can get a perception of it. You can have an experience, or you can have a concrete realization of their presence. You can become those, they become real to you, or you can have a experience which shows you that it is possible. Okay. 7 gradations of the manifesting consciousness, of which we can get a perception or a concrete realization of their presence and immanence here. So they are here, even here in the physical world. You can either experience it, or you can get a perception of it, or a reflected experience. Okay. The first 3 are the original and fundamental principles. Sri Aurobindo calls them the fundamental principles. What are they? Sat, Chit, Ananda. Okay? They are the fundamentals. They exist by themselves. Okay? The first 3 are the original and fundamental principles, and they form universal states of consciousness to which we can rise. The human being can, in consciousness, rise to those planes of consciousness. When we do so, we can become aware of the supreme planes or levels of fundamental manifestation or self-formulation of the spiritual reality, in which is put in front the unity of the divine existence, the power of the divine consciousness, the bliss of the divine delight of existence. So when you realize that it is made of such as the divine existence is Sat, the power of the divine consciousness is Chit Shakti. Consciousness has got a power. They don't mention Shakti, but Chit Shakti is one compound, and they usually refer to it as Chit, consciousness. The bliss of the divine delight of existence, Ananda. Not concealed or disguised as here. Here all these are there. Matter is corresponding to Sat, life is corresponding to the Shakti, power, and Ananda is also there, but in a distorted form. It becomes pleasure here in the physical world. Pleasure as well as pain. Okay, then. A 4th principle of supramental truth consciousness is associated with them. Okay. The 4th one, starting from the top, Sat, Chit, Ananda, and then you have supermind. Manifesting unity in infinite multiplicity. It is the characteristic power of self-determination of the infinite. Now, what is this? Self-determination. I want to give myself forms. Determination is making forms, very clear forms. So, it is supermind that allows the manifestation to take place. That's what Sri Aurobindo is saying. This quadruple power of the supreme existence, consciousness and delight, constitutes an upper hemisphere of manifestation based on the Spirit's eternal self-knowledge. So, Sat, Chit, Ananda, and then the supermind, and we can use the word gnosis, or you can also word truth consciousness. So, these are the...
And real idea. Real idea.
Yeah, the real idea are there in the supermind. They are real ideas. Our ideas are also real, but they take time to manifest. But there it manifests immediately. That's why it's a real idea. This quadruple power of the supreme existence, consciousness and delight constitutes an upper hemisphere of manifestation based on the spirit's eternal self-knowledge. It knows itself what it wants to do. If we enter into these principles or into any plane of being in which there is a pure presence of the reality, we find in them a complete freedom and knowledge. That freedom is not here and knowledge also is not here, but when you enter there, you find that you are completely free and knowledge. The lack of freedom here is not easily perceived, but if you are very, 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 very alert, you will see that you are absolutely a slave to nature. Nature is making you dance. There is no freedom at all. Normally people mistake your self-will as freedom, but that also is being dictated by nature. Okay, so then complete freedom and knowledge. The other three powers, mind, life and matter, the other three powers and planes of being, of which we are even at present aware. We are aware that there is body, life and mind, form a lower hemisphere of the manifestation, a hemisphere of mind, life and matter. These are in themselves powers of the superior principles, but wherever they manifest in a separation from their spiritual sources, they undergo as a result a phenomenal lapse into a divided, in place of the true, undivided existence. So, matter is Sat degraded and it has separated itself from the unity of Sat. Chit Shakti also comes down and becomes here life. Okay? And Ananda comes down and becomes here the psychic being, and the supermind comes down and becomes the mind here. These are the correspondences, but the lower hemisphere are all distortions of the original fundamental, Satchidananda. They are distortions. Okay? They are veiled. Symbols. They are just like photographs. They undergo as a result a phenomenal lapse into a divided in place of the true undivided existence. This, you can see division everywhere. You can see division in matter, you can see division in life, you can see division in mind. In matter, you have the 190 elements, they are all different. In life, you have all the different species of animals, they are all different. Actually, life is a common element to all of them. What about mind? Mind also, you have got all sorts of different ideas. And they all are sometimes clashing with each other. So that's a multiplicity. They undergo a division. Okay. This lapse, this separation, creates a state of limited knowledge, exclusively concentrated on its own limited world order and oblivious of all that is behind it and of the underlying unity. A state, therefore, of cosmic and individual ignorance. Manifestation means giving a form to something. Okay, I have an idea in my mind and it is not manifested. I have not spoken it out. But the moment I speak it out, I am manifesting it. But when I am speaking, I am using words which limit the thought. So, manifestation is forms. And obviously, form is a limitation. So, that's why they undergo limitation. And limitation means ignorance. That's what Simri is saying. So, I will quickly read the summary. So, we get the whole thing in 4 or 5 sentences, and then we go to the next para. The manifestation of the being into the becoming is an involution. Like a, if you want, like a collapsible telescope. They all get compressed into one here. Everything is there, but they have to slowly come out. Spirit being the summit and matter the lowest dark base. the ascent of consciousness from matter to spirit is the evolution. In this double ladder of ascent and descent, there are 7 levels. The first highest 3 are existence, consciousness and bliss. Existence Sat, consciousness Chit and bliss Ananda. These are the divine planes to which man can rise. There is a 4th of supermind, which is the power of creation, of self-determination, of self-formation, of manifesting itself into limited forms. These 4 are the upper hemisphere. When man rises to these planes, he experiences pure reality, a complete freedom and knowledge, omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. Below these, the last 3 in which man lives are matter, life and mind. These are the limited, diminished representational forms of the upper 4 principles. But these 3, caused by the downward lapse, become separated from the parent principles and thus descend into the individual and cosmic ignorance. Note the word cosmic ignorance also. Okay. So, now we go to the next para. In the descent into the material plane of which our natural life is a product, the lapse culminates in a total inconscience out of which an involved being and consciousness have to emerge by gradual evolution. This inevitable evolution first develops, as it is bound to develop, matter and a material universe. In matter, life appears and living physical beings. Now, here is something interesting, a characteristic of some of those prose. I got confused when I read the first time, even today morning, but you can see immediately. In matter, life appears and living physical beings appear. You have to add appear at the end of that, otherwise it hangs. Yeah. So, in life, mind manifests and embodied thinking and living beings manifest. You have to add that word to make it complete. Okay, so then in mind, ever increasing its powers and activities in forms of matter, the supermind or truth consciousness must appear. Now he is using the word appear and manifest. Okay, but there he didn't.
Yes.
He eliminated. Okay, he often doesn't repeat something which is obvious. So you have to repeat the word appear and manifest to make it complete. Okay, so mind manifests and embodied thinking and living beings manifest. In mind, ever increasing its powers and activities in forms of matter, the supermind or truth consciousness, note that word truth consciousness. Whenever he uses the word truth consciousness, it's not one word, it's a compound. Truth and consciousness, he means the supermind. He also uses the word gnosis, Gnosis. Okay. Here he has not used it, but later on he will use it. Supermind or truth consciousness must appear inevitably by the very force of what is contained in the inconscience and the necessity in nature to bring it into manifestation. Supermind has not yet manifested, but simply saying it is bound to manifest because it is compressed, it is there in matter. Okay, so supermind appearing manifests the spirit's self-knowledge and whole knowledge. Now, what is this? Spirit's self-knowledge and whole knowledge. Self-knowledge would correspond to the transcendental, and the whole knowledge will correspond to the cosmic and the individual. In a supramental living being, and must bring about by the same law, by an inherent necessity and inevitability, the dynamic manifestation here of the divine existence, consciousness and delight of existence. So Shraddha is saying, when the supermind manifests here, matter will not be a hidden or a veiled form of Sat. it will become very, very obvious that this is matter, subtle matter. Okay? Similarly, the consciousness which is there at the highest level will become here almost the same as the other one. It will be a manifested form of consciousness of the other one. So, this will happen when supermind descends and produces the superman. He is using the word, note the word, in a supramental living being. So, when he uses the word supramental living being, he means a superman. Okay? I read that sentence again. Supermind appearing manifests the spirit's self-knowledge and whole knowledge in a supramental living being. Okay? In man who will become a supramental race and must bring about by the same law, by an inherent necessity and inevitability, the dynamic manifestation here of the divine existence, consciousness and delight of existence. So, the Satchidananda which is hidden here will become manifest in the supramental being. Okay, so it is this that is the significance of the plan and order of the terrestrial evolution. It is this necessity that must determine all its steps and degrees, its principle and its process. So, this is the secret of the purpose and the aim of manifestation and evolution. Mind, life and matter are the realized powers of the evolution and well known to us. We can see mind, we can see life, we can see matter. Supermind and the triune aspects of Satchidananda are the secret principles which are not yet put in front and have still to be realized in the forms of the manifestation, and we know them only by hints and a partial and fragmentary action, still not disengaged from the lower movement and therefore not easily recognizable. So, Shraddha is saying that not yet put in front and have still to be realized in the forms of the manifestation, and we know them only by hints, he says. In other words, there are many, many yogis who have realized, seen them and hinted them, but not transformed by them. Okay, so we know them only by hints. Many have had a hint of that supermind and a partial and fragmentary action. There you are. So, partial and fragmentary action, which is very, very clear in Sri Aurobido's case. Even the body had become a luminous body which did not decay for 4 or 5 days. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Fragmentary action, part of that is still acting here, still not disengaged from the lower movement and therefore not easily recognizable. But their evolution too is part of the destiny of the soul in the becoming. They are bound to come. That's what he's saying. And it is the soul that will realize them. There must be a realization and dynamization in earth life and in matter, not only of mind, but of all that is above it, all that has descended indeed, but is still concealed in earth life and matter. Supermind, Satchidananda have manifested, but they are hidden here. They have to be openly evolved. That's what he's saying. So, again I will quickly read the summary and then we go on to the next one. The involutionary descent of Satchit Ananda through supermind into matter culminates in a total inconscience and ignorance, which is the normal life of man. We are not conscious and we are ignorant. The evolution is the upward movement of this involved consciousness into the spirit from which it came. This evolution, starting from matter, first produces life, throwing up million forms of flora and fauna. The life evolves into mind, which enables man to discover the secret of material nature and create fantastic instruments and machines to make life easy and comfortable for man. This is implied in what Srindra is saying. By the same law of development of the 7 principles, mind must now reveal supermind. the principle of supermind has not been revealed to mankind except a few exceptional individuals. But the principles of the supermind must become overtly recognizable soon enough. There have been enough hints of the coming evolution. These powers will not be miracles, but the very natural laws of these worlds. That's what he said in this para that we read just now. Okay. We go to the third para today. Our theory of the integral knowledge admits mind as a creative principle, a power of the being, and assigns it its place in the manifestation. Now, our theory, he is speaking of the integral theory which he is putting forward. Okay? That word our, his way of speaking, my theory he would have said, but he never uses that word. Okay, so even I, he never says I anywhere in that, except very rarely when he is giving an image or something. Okay.
Yes, I've seen it often. Yeah. Yes, but it's rare.
That's right. But in one or two places he has used I in the sense of I. Really, he means that very rarely. So he's saying our theory of the integral knowledge admits mind as a creative principle. So mind is a creative principle, a power of the being, and assigns it its place in the manifestation. Now, why is he saying this? It seems a very bland statement, but there are many people who don't admit mind as a reality. The Buddhists and the Mayavadins don't. They say it is all Maya, it is not so. But simply saying, no, I accept mind as a creative principle. It's a mind that is creative here. Okay? It's the mind of man that has created all these things that don't exist earlier. Mobiles, telephones, televisions, cars, aeroplanes. So, it is the theory, our theory. It similarly accepts life and matter as powers of the spirit, and in them also is a creative energy. So, simply saying that I accept matter, life and mind as powers of Satchidananda. So, they are true, but they are a secondary reality. There are philosophies which say no, there is no reality at all, they are all illusions. Mayavada and Buddhism particularly, but simply saying no, I don't accept that view. I do accept that matter, life and mind are real, but in time and space, they are secondary realities. They are not fundamental realities. Okay? But the view of things that makes mind, now he is speaking of the other side, but the view of things that makes mind the soul or the supreme creative principle, and the philosophies that assign to life or matter the same reality of predominance are expressions of a half-truth and not the integral knowledge. So, Shakespeare is saying that one who says that matter is the only reality, I don't accept. That is the materialist. The scientist is still saying matter is the only reality. Who is the one who says that life is the only reality? There is the Henri Bergson. He is the one who gave the theory of the
Bergson, yes.
Yeah, Bergson, French philosopher, who élan vital. Yes. Élan vital is the word he used for life principle. That's the main thing. So scientists saying matter. Bergson says no, not life, not matter, but life is the basic principle. Then you have the theory of Descartes, René Descartes. Neither life nor life, neither matter nor life are real. It's a mind that is real. I think, therefore I am. So thought is the real. So simply saying those also I don't accept. I don't accept that matter, life, mind are unrealities, and I don't accept also that they are only realities. So when they saying, first he denies the theory of Buddhism and Mayavada, now he is denying the theories of materialism life, elam-vital and mind. Okay? He says these are also, they are not the only realities. Then he adds another one, I think in Thoughts and Aphorisms. He says, someone says matter is the only reality. I exist because I am the body. I exist because I am the life. I exist because I am the mind. He says, I exist because I am not mind, not body, not life, but soul. In the, I think, Thoughts and Aphorisms, there's something like he says that. Okay, so that's the ultimate reality. But the view of things that we read, it is true that when matter first emerges, it becomes the dominant principle. Okay, there was a time when only matter existed and that was only reality. It seems to be and is within its own field the basis of all things. Life and matter also exist because of matter. Mind also has resting on matter, and life also is resting on matter. Everywhere, wherever you see life, you will see that it is involved in a material form. You will never see life without material form here in the physical world. Okay. It's either a small atomic particle, unicellular creatures, or larger animals or insects, but there is matter and life combined. Similarly, mind also you will not see, it is only where brain is there, and brain is the material base for thinking. If the brain is not there, there is no thought here in the physical world. Okay, so that's what he's saying. It is true that when matter first emerges, it becomes the dominant principle. It seems to be and is within its own field the basis of all things, the constituent of all things, the end of all things. But matter itself is found to be a result of something that is not matter, of energy. And this energy cannot be something self-existent or acting in the void, but can turn out and, when deeply scrutinized, seems likely to turn out to be the action of a secret consciousness and being. So he's saying, matter exists because there is life that is supporting it. Life exists because there is consciousness supporting it. So if that is not there, then these are all unreal. So you go step by step, and finally you see that Satchidananda is a real substance which produces all these things. Okay, so this argument he has given here in 3-4 sentences. In another chapter, he has gone into great detail to explain this. Okay, so but matter itself is found to be a result of something that is not matter, of energy, and this energy cannot be something self-existent and acting in the void, but can turn out and, when deeply scrutinized, seems likely to run out to be the action of a secret consciousness and being. When the spiritual knowledge and experience emerge, this being, where is it gone?
Becomes.
When the spiritual knowledge and experience emerge, this becomes a certitude. You know sure that the reality of all these things is above. It is seen that the creative energy in matter is a movement of the power of the spirit. Matter itself cannot be the original and ultimate reality. At the same time, the view that divorces matter and spirit and puts them as opposites is unacceptable. Matter is a form of spirit, a habitation of spirit, and here in matter itself there can be a realization of spirit. So, you don't see the divine here, but it's possible to have the divine existence here in the spirit. Okay, so he has spoken about matter being the only reality in the field of matter. Now he comes to life. It is true again that life, when it emerges, becomes dominant, turns matter into an instrument for its manifestation, and begins to look as if it were itself the secret original principle which breaks out into creation and veils itself in the forms of matter. So wherever you see life, you see that It is a basic thing, and it is using matter to veil itself. The body of all animals is matter. There is a truth in this appearance, and this truth must be admitted as part of the integral knowledge. We admit that matter is real, we admit that life also is real. Life, though not the original reality, is yet a form, a power of it, which is missioned here as a creative urge in matter. Life, therefore, has to be accepted as a means of our activity and dynamic mold into which we have here to pour the divine existence. So, this mold of body and vital, we have to pour the divine consciousness into it. But it can be so be accepted only because it's a form of divine energy, which is itself greater than the life force. So, matter, life, mind are realities, but they are dependent realities. They are not fundamental realities. That's what he's saying. The life principle is not the whole foundation and origin of things. Its creative working cannot be perfected and sovereignly fulfilled, or even find its true movement until it knows itself as an energy of the divine being and elevates and subtilizes its action into a free channel for the outpourings of the superior nature. The superior nature is Paraprakriti, the divine nature. So, life, matter, life, mind, Sri Aurobindo accepts as real but dependent realities. Now he has discussed matter. It seems to be in its own field the reality. Life also seems to be the reality in its own field. And mind, now he comes to mind. So, mind in its turn, when it emerges, becomes dominant. Okay.
Mind can be dominant over the vital.
Pardon?
Mind is dominant over the vital.
Yes, it is supposed to be and can be to a certain extent. When mind is not there, vital is rampant, it does what it wants. But when mind comes in, there is a little bit of a control on it. Okay.
But he says, mind in its turn, when it emerges, becomes dominant.
Dominant, that's right. That becomes the most important thing. It uses life and matter as a means of its expression. So there you are. Mind is using life and matter as a means of its expression. With matter, it is creating all sorts of, it's mind that is creating. It's also using life for its own benefit. Okay, so a field for its own growth and sovereignty. And it begins to look as if it was the true reality and the creator, even as it is a witness of existence. It is mind that is a witness of existence. But mind also is a limited and derivative power. It's an outcome of overmind, or it is here a luminous shadow thrown by the divine supermind. So, he is making a distinction between overmind and supermind. If you consider it supermind, it's a shadow. But if it's an overmind, then many, many principles of overmind are there in the mind. Okay, so it can only arrive at its own perfection by admitting the light of a larger knowledge. It must transform its own more ignorant, imperfect, and conflicting powers and values into the divinely effective potencies and harmonious values of the supramental truth consciousness. All the powers of the lower hemisphere, with their structures of the ignorance, can find their true selves only by the transformation in the light that descends to us from the higher hemisphere of an eternal self-knowledge. I want to read one line again, okay, what he means by that. But mind also is a limited and derivative power. It's an outcome of our mind, or it is here a luminous shadow thrown by the divine supermind. It can only arrive at its own perfection by admitting the light of a larger knowledge. It must transform its own more ignorant, imperfect, and conflicting powers and values. What does it mean by that? Conflicting powers and values are the dualities in the physical world. There are truths, mind truths, which are true in themselves, but they are contradictory. They are conflicting powers. Example, freedom and discipline. Both are required. Freedom is required, but discipline also is required, but they are opposites. If there is discipline, you are limiting freedom. Okay? Freedom and law. Law also is necessary, but they are opposites. Then, love and justice. They are also conflicting powers. Both are needed. Love also is needed and justice also is needed. But they are conflicting powers. Suppose I am a judge and my son has committed a crime. He comes to me he is brought by the police and I am the judge. What principle do I use? Justice or love? So, they are conflicting powers. So, these are the dualities in the physical world. The one and the many, okay? Love and hatred, they are actually the same thing, but they seem to be different. So, mind has to, for its own perfection, it has to transform more ignorant and its conflicting powers, it has to go. How does it do that? Mind rising from normal mind to higher mind, the dualities disappear. And they are very, very harmonious with each other. That's what he's saying. Okay? So, this was the third paragraph. I'll read the summary. I'm reading the summary of what he has just now said. Now, when mind emerges, it takes control of life and matter and uses them, tries to impose its law upon the present condition. So, how does mind use matter? Very clearly, it creates things with matter. Even pots and pans are matter, and man has used them to create instruments for itself. He is creating a knife, he is creating a rifle, he is creating mobiles, he is using matter to create these things for himself. Life doesn't do that, it's mind that does that. So, it uses matter. It's also using and controlling life. It tries to become master of the animal world. It is taming horses, elephants, and using them for his own purpose. So his mind is becoming, using life for its own benefit. That's what Swami is saying. But when we use these words very clearly with examples, then it becomes clear. What he means by mind, using matter and life for its own benefit. Okay, so when mind emerges, it takes control of life and matter and uses them, tries to impose its law upon the present condition. Mind is also a witness regarding, examining, studying, and probing life and mind for their secret powers. It does look as though mind is the ultimate principle, but mind is only a shadow thrown into becoming by supermind. Mind is the culminating effect of the principle of division, which starts at the overmind level. Mind must admit into itself the light of the higher hemisphere and transform itself into the divine principle it essentially is. All the three powers of the lower hemisphere of ignorance can find their corresponding truths in the upper hemisphere. So, the correspondence is matter is actually Sat in a degraded form, life is a degraded form of Chit Shakti, and mind is a degraded form of supermind. There is the Ananda, and you may wonder what is Ananda, but Ananda corresponds to the psychic being which is also hidden here. So, that's the spirit manifesting in matter produces these representations of itself. Okay, that's what he said in the paragraph we read just now. All these three lower powers of being, lower powers, matter, life, mind, build upon the inconscient and seem to be originated and supported by it. The black dragon of the inconscience sustains with its vast wings and its back of darkness the whole structure of the material universe. Its energies unroll the flux of things. Its obscure intimations seem to be the starting point of consciousness itself and the source of all life impulse. The inconscient, in consequence of this origination and predominance, is taken now by a certain line of inquiry as the real origin and creator. It has indeed to be accepted that an inconscient force and inconscient substance are the starting point of the evolution. But it's a conscious spirit and not an inconscient being that is emerging in the evolution. The inconscient and its primary works are penetrated by a succession of higher and higher powers of being and are made subject to consciousness so that its obstructions to the evolution, its circles of restriction are slowly broken. The python coils of its obscurity shot through by the arrows of the sun god. So are the limitations of our material substance diminished until they can be transcended, and mind, life and body can be transformed through a possession of them by the greater law of divine consciousness, energy and spirit. The integral knowledge admits the valid truths of all views of existence, valid in their own field, but it seeks to get rid of the limitations and negations and to harmonize and reconcile these partial truths in a large truth which fulfills all the many sides of our being in the one omnipresent existence. Now, why is Sridhar saying this? Because in the other theories, the aim of life is different. The materialist, the aim of life is different. For the Mayavadin, the aim of life is different. You reject one. The materialist is rejecting God and saying matter is the only reality. The Buddhists they say that the Shunyam is the only reality and matter is not the only reality. Therefore, the aim of life is to disappear there. So, Sridhar is now linking all this to prepare his theory of the four aims of life, and his aim of life is the divine manifestation in the physical world, which has not taken place yet, but it is going to take place in a graded series. Three have already occurred. Matter, life and mind have already manifested. The next step is the supermind to manifest. That's why he is saying this. So,
has it manifested in any other galaxies or planets?
Now that's a very interesting question, and Sridhar in one or two places has hinted. He said that it can be in other place, but he has never discussed it fully. But he has said that the earth is a significant center. So he has not ruled out, but he actually hinted that there are other places. So, and if we think with our ignorance, we think about it, it seems so unlikely that in this vast universe, without end, billions and billions and billions of stars and planets and things, only this small grain of sand which is earth, there is life. It's very difficult to believe that. Very difficult to believe that. So 90% at our level we can take it that there are higher planes of consciousness.
Did you want to read the summary?
Yeah.
We have enough time.
All the three lower powers, mind, life and matter, being creative principles, do originate and generate vast worlds, but on the basis of the inconscient. This inconscience is a vast, infinite, dark, mysterious black power, often pictured as a sphinx or a dragon. Okay. He has also used the word python here. It is mysterious because being inconscient, yet produces consciousness. Being apparently lifeless, yet oozes life out of itself. So infinitely potent is it that one life of inquiry attributes to it the status of the sole originator of the universe. This is true. It does create the universe of matter, life, and mind, but it is not really the inconscient that creates, but the consciousness latent and somnolent in it, which is sleeping in matter, that is the creative power, not the inconscient itself. In fact, the resistance that it offers to the spirit is infinite. The inconscient is actually offering a resistance to the spirit. It obstructs at every step the upward evolution. Therefore, its resistance of inertia, darkness, and denial of the spirit has to be overcome by the higher level of consciousness, penetrating it and compelling it to yield higher forms of itself, matter, life, mind. Our integral theory admits the truth of matter, life, and mind as valid, but within their own proper fields. But the integral view seeks to rid them of their imperfections. They are real but imperfect realities, their limitations, their negations, in order to harmonize them with their higher counterparts in the upper hemisphere. Matter should become subtle matter. Life has to become fully conscious. Ananda has to manifest itself, and mind must be omnipotent. That is the aim of life for Sri-Aurobindo.
Good.
Stop here today?
I think we stop here today. Namaste. And we will meet again on Saturday for the continuation of this extraordinary chapter.